3, 2, 1.
Rookies. Hey, Jeff, week 7 was a bad one for me. 6 and 7 straight up, 1 and 4 picks against the spread. The only saving grace is I went 2 and 2 in picks that we picked differently. So I think you're still 3 or 4 up. Overall, how was your week 7 and what did you learn?
It was absolutely awful. That was a surprising week. I was 6 and 6 straight up, but I was 1 and 4 on my premium, which, I knew I would have a sub week after some of those early weeks that were so high, but that was a shock. Some of these games seem a little questionable how they played out, but yeah, it was just an overall bad week for me.
Yeah, I've had a lot of bad weeks on my premium picks, so I'm looking to get back on track. And you can get our picks and analysis on beatbookies.com, obviously where you're at. You can also get all of our season picks for a low price of $75. Rookies Beat Bookies is up on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and we will continue to put out our content on those sites. So check us out. Jeff and I are going head to head, and all of this content is totally free. We appreciate you being here. Week 8 is a full-up schedule with no teams on the bye. Cowboys, Panthers, Bengals, Texas, Jets, and Titans are all coming off byes from last week. The Broncos, Lions, Jags, and 49ers are going into the bye in week 9, so keep that in mind. But teams coming off of a bye, just to go over since 2019, just go over some stats. The Cowboys are 3-1, both straight up ATS, and 3-1 to the over. The Jets are 0-4 coming off of a bye, 1-3 ATS and 2-2 to the over. The Bengals are 3-2 straight up, 2-3 ATS coming off a bye, but 4-1 to the over. Texans 2-2, 1-3, 2-2 over. The Titans are 3-1 straight up, 4-0 ATS, and 3-1 to the over, coming off of a bye. And the Panthers are a surprising 4-0 to the over, coming off a bye, but 1-3 ATS and straight up coming off a bye. Now, obviously, history doesn't indicate anything for now, but coming off a bye is a little bit, has to do with injuries, has to do with who you're playing, if you're playing at home and such, but it's also an organizational thing. And that's why we throw these things out here, because sometimes organizations come out of a bye better than some organizations just come out of a bye and have rest advantage better. But hey, let's take a glance back at week 7, which qualifies as the week of the underdog, with 8 of 13 dogs winning outright, 9-13 ATS, and 8 of 13 to the under, continuing a trend of most games going under the total this year. This match is a week 1 where we saw 8 underdogs win outright, but remember, we had fewer games, so it's a higher percentage of underdogs. Vegas has to be flush with cash right now with all that public money staying in-house. And so, I think we got to bring up the reffing issue again. There's just some questionable calls again this week, and it's part of the game. And it's very much it seems to be very much part of the end of the outcomes in the last 3 weeks. In our bets, you can't really account for those kind of calls week to week, which reinforces the fact, at least my belief, that you can't put more than 1 or maybe 2 units per game once you've narrowed down your best bets. I also don't advise going against a team because there was a questionable call the week prior. I think there is no correlation or causation there. I mean, I don't think the NFL is going to, make it up to a team. I don't think that happens. Just like I don't necessarily think that those calls are, anything nefarious there either. They're just bad calls, obviously. So, one must take the wins and losses separate. Do your own due diligence. Keep your bets tight. Don't extend because you're down, and play your strategy. If you have a bad week like I had and Jeff had, learn from it, adjust, and move on. Jeff, thoughts on week 7, the number of underdogs winning outright? And does home field have an advantage now?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the home field or not. There have been a lot of underdogs winning, which in some cases was injury related. I think you definitely had more injuries. You know, San Francisco had a lot. I think Miami's offensive line injuries probably played a little bit into how badly they performed. So injuries are something I'm still struggling with. Sometimes I don't weight non-quarterback injuries enough. So I probably need to adjust for that. But other than that, yeah, it was just a crazy weekend with some maybe some letdowns, emotional letdowns from some teams and some bad calls.
Yeah, definitely letdowns, bad calls, and you called it, Jeff, on the injuries. I have to go back and relook at my spreadsheet as well. But talking about injuries from week 7, there were fewer than week 6, but Watson came out of the game to a possible concussion, but his shoulder's clearly not ready to play, and he's not playing next week. Bijan, he had a bad headache and he played 2 plays. So I'm not really sure what his status is. You got to follow that pretty closely. Watson from the Packers injured his right knee. He's had a history of right knee injuries. And he had a history, and so he's come, and he had a hammy earlier in the season. So you got to watch that injury with Watson. Ford from Cleveland looks to have a high ankle sprain, maybe even a toe. So it looks like Kareem Hunt will get the majority, but then, who else do they have in with Baltimore to run the football? Lamar Jackson. Foreman for the Bears, he had a huge game, but he might have gotten hurt at the end of the game. We're not sure. Debo Samuels looks to be out due to a fracture of the shoulder, and he looks like he's going to be out a couple more weeks. And I guess Brock Purdy got ruled out for the week. Was that what you heard, Jeff?
Still in concussion protocol, which it's a little late in the week, so it's looking pretty unlikely that he would play.
Yeah, Fields. Fields is touch and go there. He could be back, but it may be one more week. And then I think you got to watch Cup. He didn't look good. He looked good the first week back, but he didn't look good last week. So maybe there's some lingering injuries there. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Any injuries jump out at you here that's going to really impact your bets?
Well, it's usually an accumulation. So with San Francisco, if Purdy is also out, got the Debo, you've got Trent Williams and McCaffrey being, a little banged up. Those mounting injuries that's going to cause me to rethink my bet on San Francisco. And similarly, I got to check and see what the offensive line situation is with Miami. They were so bad last week, playing 3 new players, basically new starters. So just see if they're a little more cohesive this week.
Yeah, they looked a little bit Cowboy-esque at Arizona that week where I bet on the Cowboys to cover. And then, somehow on Saturday we had 3 starting offensive linemen not play. I didn't get that news, unfortunately. And there you go. There went that game. Yeah, 3 offensive linemen out on any team is significant, especially if one is the center and or tackle. I guess in this case, the Tua's blind side is his right tackle. Normally it's a left tackle. So you got to watch those pretty close. All right, we're going to kick it off with the Packers hosting the Vikings and are favored by 1. The over-under is 43. Vikings got it done against a beat-up 49ers team last week and still a victory, even without Jefferson. The Pack lost a close one in Denver, and their season looks over to me. Looks like some retooling on offense is likely required. Their ground game is ground to a stop, and the passing game doesn't consistently attack down the field at all. The Vikings shut down the game manager last week, and can they do it again this week with the game manager and Love? Jeff, who do you like at Lambeau Field?
This one is a close one for me, but I like Minnesota here. I thought they were close to looking at maybe ditching Cousins, maybe some reworking there. But I think after last week, they're probably a little stronger outlook than I had for them previously, and so I think they're going to carry a little momentum with them because they're not going to be ditching the season. For Green Bay, I definitely think they've got to be thinking of what changes to make for next year.
Yeah, I'm liking Minnesota too, and I normally don't like Minnesota in Lambeau, but this is a rare time where the Packers haven't. I went with the Packers last week in Denver, and they disappointed greatly. So I'm just not high on them. Hey, next up, a rare 12 o'clock start for the Cowboys. You normally get the 3 o'clock slot. Tough one for the Rams playing early. The Cowboys are favored by 6.5. The over/under set at 45.5. The Cowboys are coming off a bye, and the Rams are coming off a loss to the Steelers. They probably should have won that one. Henderson ran the ball well for the Rams, and Puku was over 100. Something seemed wrong with Cup, and feels like the Cowboys can shut down the Rams' running game with Henderson and I think Moss or no Evans is their backup. Expect Stafford to play well in this spot, having played high school ball at Highland Park. So I feel like he's going to want to come out and try to show. But the Cowboys are pretty good coming off of the buys, and feels like this one could get over early. The 45 number, Jeff. Who do you like in this one?
I agree on Stafford. He not only does he come from this area, he's come back and played, a few times when he was with Detroit here in the stadium, and he's always done really well playing here in Dallas. So I expect him to have another good game. Even though Dallas, with the defense having another week to look at, where they have faced their biggest challenges, I think they're probably going to be really ready to shut somebody down. So I anticipate Dallas winning this game. I think the defense is going to do a pretty good job on the Rams, but if they don't, that means there's probably time for some sort of supplement to the defense.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, if they can, the McVay's pretty good at the running game, at the counter tray, and Stafford, just like Goff, was, both quarterbacks under McVay were just excellent at play action. So if they can get the running game, then that will open up Stafford. If they can't get the running game going, then they should be able to shut down Cup and Puka on the outside. So we'll have to see. Coming off a bye, if the Cowboys play poorly and lose off a bye at home, yeah, they got to do some retooling on defense. I would definitely say that. Hey, next up, the Titans host the Falcons. They're home dogs at +2.5, with the over/under set at a low 36.5, which means it's definitely going over. The Titans will be starting, I think, Malik at quarterback. And if I mispronounce that name, I apologize. Given Atlanta has the third best defense in total yards and seventh in passing, it might be a difficult day for the Titans. However, Atlanta D's giving up 95 yards a game, and with King Henry coming off rest, don't count out the Titans' ability to run the ball and score here. The Falcons lost handily on the road to the Jags and squeaked by the Texans at home. So, from a conference standpoint, the AFC South looks to be a stronger conference. I'm not sure about laying chalk here to a team coming off of a bye. Who gets it done here, Jeff?
Well, I do think Tennessee gets this done, but it's one of those two, maybe three games this week where I kind of wonder if there's any potential impact from possible trades. So Derrick Henry has definitely come up in a lot of trade rumors, Baltimore being the biggest likely suitor. So I just wonder if they maybe don't want to risk injury to him before they trade him, and so he doesn't get run as much, if there's any impact there. But otherwise, I'm leaning Tennessee. But this is probably a game I'm going to really have to look at before I decide to take it.
Yeah, I definitely don't know that I would put a lot of units on this one for sure. No, I don't even think I'd get a unit at this point in the season. Hey, next up, the Colts host the Saints and are favored by 1. The over/under set at 43 and a hook. The Colts caught some bad breaks last week. No other way to say it. The Browns, especially late in the game, 2 bad calls, actually 3 at the end. You had a fumble recovery and then a pass thrown into the stands by Cleveland that was called. as a pass interference, just bad calls all the way around. The Saints could have tied their game, but came up short at the end there. This feels like a game that'll go under, as both teams went over last week, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking now, but I'm not really sure on that, and I'm staying away from the total. I feel like these two offenses get it going early, despite Minshew playing for the injured Richardson. Jeff, did the Saints get it done here on the road, or do the Colts get one at home?
I'm leaning towards New Orleans in this one. I think as far as Minshew going, I think he's been as good as you could expect from a backup quarterback. I think they are solid, but nothing spectacular. And New Orleans, they're hit and miss, but they do have the potential here. So with them still having a little more to play for, I'm going New Orleans.
All right, going with New Orleans. I think I'm going to stick with the home team here with the Colts. I think Minshew, if he can reduce his turnovers to like one, I think they can get it done there in Indy. Hey, we travel down to Miami as the Dolphins host the Pats and are favored by 9.5 with the over/under set at 47. Wow, that's a big number. The Pats came up big at home, beating the Bills in a surprise game, while the Dolphins dropped another game to a good team. The easy bet here is to take the over. The Dolphins defense can be scored on, and the Pats are back to scoring. And the Dolphins score on average and below defenses pretty easily. And I would say the Pats defense is at this point kind of average. I wouldn't overthink this one too much, but I would check the injuries and I would check the weather. I like Miami to win, and the number seems about right, so I'm staying away from the spread and the total. But I like Miami to win straight up. Jeff, who gets it done in South Beach?
I'm going Miami in this one as well, and the number is pretty close on the spread. That's around where I'm looking at it. The injuries on the offensive line won't hurt Miami as much with New England because they've got injuries on the defensive line. And I do think the secondary for New England is pretty suspect. So I've heard a little that both Hill and Waddle are a little banged up in practice. Definitely want to watch that. But if they're playing, I'm taking Miami pretty handily.
Yeah, just watch the injuries with Miami this week. As Jeff said, they may decide. I would not put it past them to rest a player or two, given their competition. So I would definitely watch them if you're going to bet the spread, because I think that Vegas got the number pretty close. All right, next up, the Jets and Giants play on a neutral field, and the Jets are favored by 2.5. The over/under is set at 36 and a hook. The Jets are coming off a bye, and the Giants got it done last week against the Commanders. The Jets are 2-0 since 2015 against the Giants, but the Giants lead the series at 8-6. Looks like Taylor might be the guy in New York, and Barkley could be back. The Jets D got rest. Can't imagine how good they're going to be this week with additional rest. The last 4 meetings all got over 40 points easily, so I like the over here, 36.5. Feels like the Jets get back on track and cover the spread and get the win here. Jeff, who would you think Sinatra would pick in this game in New York?
Well, so I think he might pick the Giants from what I remember, but I'm definitely not sold on the Giants. They've had a couple of wins in a row, but that one last week, Washington's offense was just so pedestrian. I can't really give the Giants that much credit. And I do really think the Jets defense is really good, and the Giants can't score against anybody. So I think the Jets get this one done. I think they cover.
Yeah. A lot of folks are taking the under. But I think this thing gets over because most of the games that they play get over for somehow. They just don't know. They don't understand each other, or they just want to give the fans in New York a better game to watch. Hey, our next matchup has the Jags traveling to Pittsburgh, probably the game of the week, in my opinion, with all the injuries in San Francisco. And they're favored by 2.5 with the over/under set at 42. Jags are coming in on additional rest after the Thursday night game and are sitting pretty pretty nice, surprisingly, based on their start. The Jags are 4-0 ATS in the last 4 starts by an average of 11 points. So they've been comfortable wins for anyone that bet them. Like, you weren't even sweating the games, really. And 2-2 to the over. Steelers are 2-0 straight up and 4-5 ATS, with the lone exceptional loss to the Texans. So, basically 5-6 to the under. And that really shows their lack of offense and their strong defense play. Looks like the Steelers got Johnson back last week. And Lawrence was fine in his game, despite the injury. Trevor Lawrence, that is. Since 2019, the Jags are 5-8 with rest advantage, and the Steelers are 10-1 with rest disadvantage. The Steelers are 24-12 at home since 2019 straight up, and 20-16 in 1 ATS. At the same time, the Jags are 17-19 ATS on the road, and 8-27 ATS, and 17-19 straight up, and I think 9-27 ATS on the road. So I like Pittsburgh here. Despite I know we talked, I'd gone back, but I'm going with Pittsburgh here, and this is actually my free pick. So take Pittsburgh plus 2.5 at home for my free pick. You heard it here.
So Pittsburgh is a very difficult team to bet against. They do well against the spread because they're well coached and they have a really good defense. But in looking at the numbers, for me, everything is pointing to Jacksonville. I'm taking them straight up, and I think I would probably take them and give them the points too.
Yep. I know this is a tough one for me, but I'm looking at those numbers and the history, and something just feels right with this Pittsburgh team this year. If they can get that that offense going, I think that defense is going to carry them into the playoffs for sure. And this is a contrarian bet with most of the people out there on online space. Most of the sharp money is probably going to go Jacksonville's way. So this is definitely going against that for my free pick. Hey, up next, the Eagles travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. They're favored by 6.5. The over-under is 43 and a hook. The Eagles are coming off a tough win against the Dolphins. The Commanders lost a pedestrian game against the Giants. Talk about pedestrian. 7 points is pretty low as you get. Tough positional spot for Philly here, though, as they have Dallas up next week in week 9. But you can't look past the division foe. The Eagles are 6-3 back to 2019 and got by the Commanders in overtime in week 4. Philly wins on the road above 50% since 2019, but is only 15-23 ATS, which is third worst in the league. Laying 6.5 chalk on the road here in DC, Jeff. I like Philly to win. I don't know that I like them to cover. Who do you like in this NFC East Classic?
I'm seeing this game the same. I think Philly is talented enough that they're going to win this even without their A game. But I think they had a big win last week and have a big game next week. It's just going to be a little bit of an emotional letdown, even though it is divisional. So I think Washington will cover the spread in this one.
Yeah, I think they will, but I think Philly gets it done probably late with a field goal. That's my prediction. Hey, our last 12 o'clock game, we have a battle of the number 1 and the number 2 picks in the draft. The Texans travel to Carolina to face off against the Panthers and are favored by 3 on the road with the over-under set at 43. Both teams are coming off buys as well. I like the storyline here, and I also like the home team with the points. I like the over here as well, as I see both quarterbacks showing up to win this one. Stroud has outplayed Young to date so far, has the better record, obviously, as well. Defensively, I like both teams. I feel like the Panthers are not going to go 0-17. I don't know if this is the week that they get it done. Jeff, which quarterback walks away with the win here? Or is this the first tie of the season? Do we see that?
I'm not calling for a tie, definitely. So this is the one of two super close games for me, and I'm kind of going away from where I was thinking earlier. I was originally thinking Carolina, but I do think the quarterback matchup might just push me a little bit more towards Houston. They'll both be geared and ready to play, but Stroud has been significantly better. I think I'm going to lean straight up to Houston winning this game.
I'm leaning straight up to Houston as well. I went back and forth on this one as well because I don't think Carolina is going to lose 17 games.
Right.
I just don't think it's going to be the game that the guy they took that they didn't take is the guy coming into town. I think he has something to prove, and he's been proving it all season long. And with Anderson on that defensive side, I think they get some pressure on Carolina. Hey, next up, the Browns travel to Seattle to face off against the Hawks in a 3:00 matchup with the Hawks as 3-point favorites and the over-under set at 40. The Browns got a win last week with some helpful calls at the end. Looks like Watson will not go again this week. They also lost. They've lost Ford, so Hunt will be the feature back. Is that right, Jeff? Was it Ford that they lost?
I believe so, but I don't have it in my notes. I'm not certain.
Yeah, I think that's right. The Hawks kept pace, winning easily over the Arizona, but they didn't really look great. This one could get under the total for sure, as the Browns' offense is limited without their weapons and really depth. Meanwhile, the Hawks have a balanced attack with some depth, but missed out last week on their star wide receiver Metcalf. Expect him back this week. Walker's running for 75 a game and rushed for a season high 26 attempts last week. He is a load to bring down. But hey, the Browns are the team to stop the run. But they didn't last week, giving up 150 yards to Indy. Right, that was kind of a tough one to handicap. So I'm staying away. I'm taking the home field for the win. Given the fact that Watson isn't playing, but I think this thing probably gets under. I think they're going to have some situational plays set up for Walker to try to get him busted loose, and that might make the difference. Jeff, which defense shows up this week?
I hope they get Walker some free carries because I've got him on my guillotine fantasy league, so that would be good.
Absolutely.
So I've got about a half a point difference on the straight up here for Seattle, and I probably pushed that a little bit higher because of Watson not playing. So straight up, I'm taking Seattle. But Cleveland's defense is so legit and definitely normally against the run. I think they keep this really close. I'm going to go Seattle to win, but Cleveland to cover.
All right. I'm going Seattle win, but I'm not taking the ATS bet. I'm staying away. Hey, next up, the Ravens travel out west to the Cards, visit the Cards, and favored by 8.5 with the over-under set at 44. The Ravens looked unstoppable against the Lions last week and really shocked me. This is the team that I had bet on early on in the season and thought would win the Super Bowl, and they did not live up to that the first couple weeks, and now they are living up to it. They just got out to a fast start, and then they pounded the rock, just like I thought this team would do at the beginning of the year. The Cards might get Murray back, but I don't think he's going to play. The logic says go with the hot team here, and that's definitely the Ravens. But situationally, this is a bad spot. I was thinking about making this my second free pick, but I backed away from it. I was going to give 2. I like the Ravens to win. I think 8.5 is a bit much, Jeff. Who gets it done in the desert this week?
Baltimore definitely gets it done. One, Arizona typically scores a little less at home than they do on the road. And Baltimore has been hot recently. And, you know, I really like the idea of them adding Derrick Henry. Their ground attack, I mean, if they can just make that as formidable as possible to free up Jackson, then they really might be the Super Bowl pick. So I'm going to go with them to win straight up. I've got it right on the line on the ATS, so probably not going to make a bet there.
So, Jeff, I have not heard this trade rumor with Henry. What are you hearing?
So Tennessee has definitely made it clear that Henry is available, and he actually said he wants to go to the Cowboys. But I don't see Dallas offering much anyway for an older running back with a high salary. So I don't think that's likely. And then the other three teams, there are about three other teams that are interested in him. Baltimore seems to be leading the pack. Cleveland is in there, and I can't remember the other one that was a possible suitor. So there's a good chance he gets moved before the deadline on Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, given that, I'd have to relook my decision on the Titans. Then when we get to the picks, I'm gonna have to relook that one against the Saints. All right. Well, I think we agree on Ravens in Arizona. Now, watch this be just like the Cowboys, and they get an
sleepwalk.
outright
Yep.
win. Yeah, it's been that kind of year, folks. It's been that kind of year. Hey, the 49ers host the Bengals and are favored by 4 now. It was 5.5. The over-under set at, I think, 45. Let me verify that real quick, because I know that number has changed a bit. Yeah, it looks like it's come down to 43.5 from 45. So if you took the under at 45, then you're sitting pretty with Purdy not playing. But I don't know if that's going to matter. The Bengals are coming off a bye, and the 49ers are going into a bye this week in week 9. Since he's kind of pedestrian since 2019, coming off of a bye, but they are 4-1 to the over. I like to fade teams that are going into the bye. So this is one of my premium picks here is the 49ers are needing to win after 2 losses and a very strong start to the season. Samuels looks to be out for a few more games, and McCaffrey played last week but only got 45 yards on the ground and under 100 yards total. Looks like Purdy's not playing. Tough one here. Who do you like in the Bay, Jeff?
It is a tough one because I would favor San Francisco considerably if healthy. So this is one that I'm having to adjust a lot for injuries. But the injuries, once I see them mount on one side of the ball, like I'm starting to see in San Francisco, that does really make me deduct a lot from that team. So I think Cincinnati wins this game against San Francisco because of so many offensive injuries for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think they get it done. I lost my premium pick last week betting against the Chiefs. This week they're laying chalk 7.5 on the road in Denver with the over/under set at 45 and a hook. The Broncos are looking to put together a 2-game win streak, beating the Pack at home last week, and the Chiefs dominated the Chargers last week. The Chiefs are 16-0 dating back to 2015, Jeff, or 2015. Sounds like the Jets Eagles, right? 13 games, and then the Jets stop that streak. 7.5 seems too many here, but for me, I'm staying away. But I kind of like the Chiefs to win it. But man, I don't know if I wouldn't sprinkle some sugar on the Broncos to end the streak. Jeff, do the Broncos end the streak?
Well, I hope not, because this is my free pick. So,
all right, free pick.
Free pick, Kansas City winning straight up and covering over Denver. So Denver plays Kansas City well, but they also have not been the normal Denver team for this season. I don't know if it's quarterback, coach, whatever. And this is my other game that I think might be impacted by some trade rumors. There are 4 starters for Denver that have significant trade rumors swirling around for them. And it sounds a lot like Denver is looking to just dump and reload. So this one is one that I think there might be some distractions on Denver's side in addition to just not being as good as Kansas City. So free pick on Kansas City for me.
All right. So the free picks for Jeff are take Kansas City, laying a 7.5 on the road. in Mile High Stadium. And my free pick is take the Steelers plus 2.5 at home against the Jags. So those are your free picks this week, and good luck with them. Hey, Sunday night, we should see high scoring, no defense kind of game with the Chargers hosting the Bears, favored by 8.5, and the over/under set at 46 and a hook. The Bears got it done last week against the Raiders. I called it. The young kid out of Shepherd. Fields might be back though, but you know the Baggett was serviceable. He was a serviceable rookie, and he got the win. But it was really Foreman and Evans running the rock that got it done. And if Foreman might be banged up for the contest, you got to really watch that. If Fields returns, this could be an exciting game. The Chargers are 3-3 to the over. Meanwhile, the Bears are 6-7 to the over on best bet so far. Jeff, who do you like in this game? Which of these two win teams get their third?
So I like the Chargers to win this game. I like the offense. I like the offensive coordinator, and I like the quarterback. But one of the weird things with Justin Herbert is he has lost more games than any other quarterback since he's been drafted. Now, part of that means he just hasn't missed as many games as some of these other quarterbacks around him, but he definitely has not lived up to what I thought he was going to be. But Chicago's defense is not that formidable, and I think they're going to bounce back a little bit. And I really don't know how much Justin Fields helped Chicago, so I'm going the Chargers to win and cover here.
All right, I'm going again. I am too, going with the Chargers to win, and I like the over. I really think Sunday night blows up. All right, Monday night, the Lions limp in from a beating at the hands of the Ravens. Meanwhile, they got beat up. The Raiders got beat up with their two quarterback system. It's like it's a high school team, and they got shell shocked by that rookie, the Bears rookie quarterback from Shepherd. So, man, that's a tough beat. I mean, it's tough to lose to a quarterback like that in a team like that, right? The Raiders coach is on the hot seat. Jimmy G doesn't look like he's playing, and the Lions are hosting, favored by 8.5. The over/under is at 45 and a hook. This is a difficult one for me to handicap, mainly because the Lions, I think, they're going into a bye in week 9, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Let me check.
Yeah, they are going into a bye in week 9. So I tend to fade teams going into a bye. So, but they are at home. So 8.5 chalk at home. That's not undoable. I mean, that's been done many a time. The Raiders just are in bad shape. However, the Raiders defense has been able to stop the run. And here's where I'm a little concerned with the Lions. So that loss could have been an anomaly, but it feels like they were really outclassed. Goff is a play action quarterback, and they kind of abandoned the run, only running 14 times. And I don't understand why, because they were running at 6.2 yards a carry. And so I think what happened is, and I'm hoping this is the anomaly, I think what happened is the Ravens got out to such a quick start that the Lions lost their way a little bit. Goff only works, and it doesn't only work, but he works best when they are running that play action and there's that threat of the run, right? And again, they ran it 14 times, but they ran it 6.2 yards a carry. So I'm not sure totally why they gave up on the run. They are going into a bye week, so it feels like they could coast a little bit here if they get up. I remember that game, the Seattle game, where Seattle came in and got a win on them, snuck in and got a win on them. I'm a little concerned. I think they get the win here, Jeff. I'm not sure about the spread. Who do you like here on Monday night?
Well, I've been a big fan of Detroit, and I actually probably think they are the third best team in the NFC. Well, at least right in that class. So I think they're going to, one, bounce back. They're probably not going to look towards the bye week too much since they lost so badly last week. They might have if they hadn't lost badly, but I think they get focused for this game because of that. And I do also think that they are going to look to run the ball more. I think what they probably had was they did lose their way. And when they do that, teams typically bounce back the next week and try and right that. Maybe even overcompensate. So I think they will focus on the run this week. I think they will bounce back and win this one and probably cover. That's where I'm leaning at this point.
Yeah, I don't know that I would bet for the Raiders. You know, I just don't know that I would bet for the Lions. So I
Yep.
guess I'm staying away from the game ATS and under. But I do like the Lions. I could see you parlaying or not parlaying, teasing the Lions down to under 3, right? I think that wouldn't be a bad if you wanted to tease that with another game. I think that might be 6.5 or 6.5 would get you down to 2.5. I definitely think the Lions beat them by a field goal. And if you could tease that with another game, that might be where I would play it if you really wanted to play the Lions. I think I'm either fading teams going into a bye or I am just not betting on them because I don't trust them. All right, rookies. Well, there you have it. We're going to go over I've already gone over our free picks, but let's go ahead and go over our straight up picks. Jeff, I think you're up a couple on me, so I'll start. So far, I'm 61-45 on the season, and the first game up, I'm taking the Bills tonight.
I'm taking Buffalo as well, which right now we're looking good. I just checked since we didn't bet on this one.
Yeah, no, I know. I hate doing this, but you got to trust us on this. We don't look at the scores and then pick the winners. We actually pick them before we put them out. I'm taking the Dolphins over the Pats.
Same here, definitely.
I got the Jets over the Giants.
I do as well.
So I'm taking the Steelers over the Jags. I think you're going different from me on this one.
I'm going Jacksonville. Jacksonville and Detroit are my two pet teams this season. So, yeah, I'm sticking with them.
And so I am actually changing a pick. I am taking the Falcons over the Titans. Due to these trade rumors, Jeff, I wasn't tracking that, and I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous they're not going to play them actually, and if they don't, I don't know where they generate offense. Who are you going with straight up?
So I'm in that same boat. I would take Tennessee slightly, but if this impacts Derrick Henry even a little bit, then I think that tilts it to Atlanta. So I'm going to wait right up until the end to make any bets, but officially I am going to go ahead and pick Tennessee.
You're going to pick Tennessee? Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to officially pick the Falcons here. I was close anyway. I think I'm going to go ahead with Atlanta. Hey, I'm taking Texans over the Panthers.
So that is one of those that I changed. I was thinking Carolina, but that whole quarterback matchup's got me thinking a little more towards Houston. So I'm going Houston.
All right, I'm taking Dallas over the Rams.
Same here.
All right, I'm taking Vikings over the Packers.
Same here.
All right, I was going to go with the Colts over the Saints. No, I am going with Colts over the Saints.
I'm going to go ahead and go with New Orleans on this. It's close, but I just think they've been a little more stable.
And Eagles over the Commanders.
Same here.
Seahawks over the Browns.
Same. Yep.
Ravens over the Cardinals.
Definitely.
Chiefs over the Broncos.
As my free pick, yes.
Bengals over the 49ers.
That one's a tough one, but due to injuries, I am leaning towards Cincinnati.
Chargers over the Bears.
Here.
And Lions over the Raiders.
It looks like we've got 3 differences.
Yeah, what were the 3? Saints, Colts, Steelers,
Saints,
Jags.
Colts. Yep. And then Tennessee, Atlanta.
Yeah, Tennessee, Atlanta.
That's
All right. And so rookies, just keep in mind that just because these are straight up picks, that doesn't mean that we're picking ATS on our premium picks. I would tell you that that is not going to go this week. I'm thinking I'm kind of liking some of the underdogs this week, and I'm liking some of the overs. I think we get a few more overs. But if you're interested in our premium picks, email us. We'll get back to you, and we'll give you those premium picks. Jeff, I think you're about 65%, somewhere in that for the year. Is that correct? Somewhere in there?
so 62% on premium picks and 61% straight up.
Yeah, always better when you're better premium picks than straight up picks for sure. All right, Jeff, I'll give you the last word.
So going back to one of the thoughts that I have, and I mentioned early in the season, typically I would say, and it's been proven over 80-something% of the time, the winner of the game also covers. And I'm seeing that in all but 2 games this week. So I think this is going to prove out to be, the winner of the game is going to take the spread. So that's the way I'm planning to bet this week.
All right, rookies, you got our picks. Good luck this week. I don't see any picks that you should put more than a unit on. And have a good week. Good luck. See you next week.